Hey everybody. So today I'm going to show you my homemade 3D resin curing station. I'm just, getting into the world of 3D resin printing. I've been doing 3D printing with my Lulzbot minis for many years now, probably over 10 years, I imagine. And I just got this guy, which is the Elegoo Mars 3 Ultra 4K. So I'm just waiting for some more bits and pieces to get that sucker up and running, but I knew I need one of these. And frankly, I didn't want to pay for a new one, and I had the bits laying around to build my own, so I decided to spend a couple hours and throw this together. And at the same time, I got this wheel terminal sent to me, courtesy of Seed, and I'm going to talk a bit about that. Sort of a two-part video. One part is to talk to you about this curing station and just to show you some of the features. It's really quite simple. And the second part is to talk a little more detail about the wheel terminal and sort of the likes and dislikes I have about this little thing. But before I get into that, I guess I'll sort of talk to you about what I've got here. So basically, I didn't want to buy my own, so I sort of pulled together bits and pieces of stuff I had laying around. There's a strip of UV LEDs in there, and then a El Cheapo solar powered turntable that's in there that when those UV LEDs come on, that guy is powered by that, and it automatically turns those on. And also right there, sorry about the blur, that's a temperature humidity sensor. Don't nearly know if I needed it, but not having done this before, I wanted to keep track of that, and I do that on the interface here. So I'll walk you through the interface. Pretty simple. I'm basically right now, from a coding standpoint, starting with 15-minute countdown. I can change that to whatever I want. But basically it's ready to start. And then I show the temperature and humidity, and then right down here, there's a tiny histogram that builds throughout time that shows the temperature inside the chamber. And I've got a little joystick control here from the Wii that essentially I use to control the thing. So basically just pushing this starts the countdown. The screen shows curing. And then inside, I'll show you what it looks like. You can see the UV on, and you can see the turntable spinning around there. So the idea is that over 15 minutes, the 3D prints that I do can cure inside this chamber. The strip is actually a bit short, but most of my prints are not big prints, so I'm going to try that to see how it goes, and if need be, I can just tack on another another meter of it inside there. It'll probably what I need, another meter to make that work. So this is just a stainless steel garbage can that I sort of hacked apart, removed the push lever that opens a lid, and just figured I'd do that myself. In terms of the timer, I can actually use the joystick to, sorry, just let me just switch this here, change the time so I can increase it up and down. This little 5-way joystick here in the wheel terminal. But basically, I can use that to increase or decrease the time. Again, it's going to monitor temperature inside there, humidity for what it's worth. Probably don't need it. Yeah, anyway, so I guess switching gears a little bit, this is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'll put details about what I used to build this and a BOM on my blog in case you wanted to go do it yourself. I'm just going to switch my camera here. So about the wheel terminal. So I have a sort of a love-hate relationship with this guy. Seed reached out to me and asked me if I would try out this wheel terminal and tell me what they thought. I said, I'm always willing to try something out, but I'm always so very transparent with anybody that wants to send me something that I'm going to give an honest review. And, free or not, doesn't matter, but, brace yourselves. So anyway, pluses and minuses. So the nice thing about this guy is that it's a nice 2.4-inch LCD screen. Out of all the different LCD screens I have tried, including next gens and 9835s and OLEDs and you name it, the actual resolution on this, it's a full color screen. It's actually, I'm quite impressed with the resolution of the screen. This guy here is a little 5-way joystick, sort of up, down, left, right, and also click, so you can actually use that. I use that obviously for this interface. 3 buttons on top. Sorry, getting out of focus here. 3 buttons on top of the Wii that you can program yourself as well. And then you have the micro SD card slot. You have 2 groove ports, USB-C power. In this case, what I've done here, and I'll talk a little bit about this after, is actually separately powered the unit using the pins in the back. I actually labeled those pins here. on the back here. One of the gripes I have with this is that it's, obviously heavily, tailored towards Raspberry Pi because that fits on the Raspberry Pi. But this is a pain in the ass for most of us makers that, want to do sort of our own work and whatnot. So I had to build, this breakout board. And quite honestly, I didn't really want to have to do that. I have other ways that I tend to do my circuits and whatnot, and I didn't really enjoy having to do that. But it is what it is. I guess the nice part is I can just pop it on and remove it. I could actually, the advantage of that is I could build more projects. And if I'm not using the curing station, I could take the Wii and transfer it over to another project with the same type of thing and actually have it do some work there. But I don't imagine I'll be doing that very much. What are the other gripes I have with it? I think the biggest gripe I had with it, and I actually almost threw this thing away when I first got it, was, I went to their wiki, and it's a wonderful wiki, has all kinds of information on it, but it's tailored towards somebody that gets the wheel and maybe they've never started with Arduino before, or they don't have anything else in the world of making, and they've just used the wheels. Wheel is what they've got. Works great. You download their libraries and you can do all sorts of stuff with it. The problem I had is that I do a bunch of stuff. I use ESP82.6s, 32s, 32Ss, Arduinos, and this is a SMD. So I use all sorts of different boards and projects. I have hundreds of libraries. So when I went to do that, their libraries started to conflict with libraries I already had, and I wasn't about to sacrifice my other projects, for the sake of a customized version of, for example, TFT ESPI, which is a key library to use with the graphics. I already had it, and it works fine for everything else I've done it with, right? I don't want to have a conflicting version of it just to make it work with this, because it screws up everything I do. So anyway, long story short, so I actually advise Cetus. I'm sorry, I can't do anything with this. It's just really messing me up. And honestly, everything I try, I hit brick walls every time I go down a path with it. So I set it aside for a couple of weeks, and then suddenly I came across this idea of doing this guy. And I said, okay, well, let's pull this back up again. And I'm just going to squeeze over here, but I found, and I'll link this down below, but I found another library called, I think it's pronounced Loveyan GFX. Wonderful library. It uses a mix of Adafruit GFX, I think, and TFT ESPI within it, but it's sort of a layer above that, where easily allows you to pick all sorts of different products, including, I literally just was able to uncomment a line to get it working with the Wii U. It was really a couple extra lines of code in my main code to get this working, and voila, it fired right up, and I started working just like I would with TFE ESPI or Adafruit GFX. It uses the same functions for draw rectangle, draw pixels, set color, whatever, you name it. All those things are identical, so it was just flowed right into working with that. So that sort of turned me, I did an about face with this and said, okay, good, now I'm getting somewhere with this guy. And obviously was able to pull this together and make this project. So I guess in long story short is, I would, for, I think this is $36 US for an all-in-one package. That's a pretty good deal. You get micro SD. Oh, by the way, it has a buzzer. It has a light sensor. It has an infrared LED on the back. Like, it's got a lot of bits and pieces built in into the product, all in a package, which is nice too. It's packaged, so you don't have to 3D print your own case for it and whatnot. And you've got a protection on the LCD. So that is quite impressive when you pull everything together and think that it's kind of plug and play. And if I think about, I was even thinking just a few minutes ago, I was actually going to buy a buzzer, because I want to actually, when the countdown finishes, have the buzzer go off. And then I was looking at their specs online, like, oh, it has a buzzer built in. Wonderful. So I'm just going to write a bit of code to use the internal buzzer when that countdown completes. So that said, I think, it's quite an impressive little piece of hardware. There's the M5 stack product out there I have never used it, but I imagine it's probably equally as good as this guy. But, Seed, I will say something about Seed. Their support is phenomenal. I mean, they were so helpful to get me going. And when I had troubles, trying to work with them to help them understand what the issue was and help them understand what they should fix in the wiki. And hopefully after I do this, there may be some additional stuff in the wiki that helps give people another path to say, if you don't want to go this route that we take you down, what I just said, Loveyan GFX is a phenomenal library they should refer to there. And again, my blog posting will give you sort of a how-to, at least for this project. But honestly, once you do this thing, you've got everything you need to fire up any kind of project. And then you can use the other samples they have in their wiki for if you want to do animations and whatnot. So anyway, a little bit back, flipping back to this to show you this breakout board. Essentially, it's a really simple set of construction that I've got here. Sensor interface here for the DHT22 temperature humidity sensor. This is the power for the LED UV strip. That's just the tip 102 MOSFET just to control the power, allow a pin to control the power directly from 5 volts. You're going to want, honestly, you don't need it, but you're going to want 2 amps of clean power that again, that goes directly to the LED. It's not going through the wheel. The wheel is just controlling a digital pin output. And I can actually put PWM that pin if I want to actually control the light intensity, but for now it's just going to be on max until I do testing and figure out what I really need and how long for. What else do I want to say about this? I guess again, it just connects on there, nice and easy. Again, I've got other built-in sensors in here if I ever wanted to use them, as well as the buzzer, which I will use. But this was, this took me a bit of a pain in the ass again, but it took me about half an hour to fire this together, and it's just a nice little interface point for everything. Everything's clean and doesn't interfere. And I just, I 3D printed this guy with my Lulzbot just so I line it up roughly on there, and I just snap it in place and then power it up, and we're good to go again, right? So anyway, that is my Resin 3D printer curing station. And again, I'll probably report back in a few weeks once I'm waiting on resin and whatnot. Once I get the bits and pieces that I need to actually start printing and then curing, I'm going to use water-soluble resins. So I'm not going to use IPA to clean them off, but we'll see how this all works together. Anyway, thanks for checking me out, and please, I appreciate the support. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing for more, I hope to do more as I get into the world of 3D printing on my Elegoo Mars. Anyhow, thanks everybody. Ciao.